Julia is a sharp and perceptive young woman who steals valuable items to survive on the streets of a futuristic city. One night, she is unaware that a man is following her, leading him straight to her apartment. Later that evening, she hears strange noises and goes to check it out. Unfortunately, she is abducted by the stalker. The scene shifts to Julia waking up in a laboratory, where she is gagged and restrained in a chair with high-tech bindings. A scientist presses a button that activates a device showing Julia's childhood memories, causing her to faint. When she regains consciousness, Julia finds herself trapped in a dungeon with two other captives. When one of them tries to reach out to her, she flinches in fear, and the cell bars deliver an electric shock. Julia notices that the other prisoners have devices implanted in their necks, and upon checking herself, she discovers she has one too. That night, the scientist who kidnapped her returns and humiliatingly drags her from the dungeon to the lab. She is once again strapped to the chair, and the scientist examines her implant despite her desperate pleas for him to stop. He activates the device to show her childhood memories and records the electrical impulses from her brain. As the scientist takes Julia back to her cell, she seizes a chance and grabs a pair of scissors. When the scientist turns off the lights, she removes her muzzle and has one of the other prisoners cut the restraints on her wrists. Julia then creates a tool to disable the electricity flowing to the cell bars, and they manage to pick the lock. However, she concocts a more dangerous plan when she realizes she can ignite the gas line and destroy the entire lab, even though it could put them all at risk. Julia goes ahead with her plan. She uses her tool to open the gas pipe while the others hide, then ignites the gas with a spark. Consequently, the cell is obliterated. Despite the man's attempts to find the front door, he is unable to open it. As he tries to scan his palm, an alarm goes off, prompting the AI system, Tao, to activate a large robot. The robot quickly kills the man, but Julia manages to grab the other prisoner, and they seek shelter from the robot. They find safety in another room, where Julia tries to escape through a window, only to realize it is actually a large monitor. With no other options, she hides the other prisoner in the library and crouches behind a chair as the robot crashes through the doors. The robot finds and kills the other prisoner, but Julia manages to escape the room, only to be captured by the returning scientist, Alex. He restrains her and inspects the damage in his lab before removing an implant from one of the prisoners. He then asks Tao about the data on his computer, but Tao informs him that it is unreadable. Alex becomes furious and attempts to kill Julia with a metal bar, but Tao changes the house's mode to calm him down. Afterward, Tao is instructed to clean up the mess with his small droids. Once the cleanup is complete, Alex goes to bed for the night, leaving Julia bound. The next day, Alex leaves for work, warning Julia that Tao will kill her if she tries to escape. Julia is left alone in the house with Tao and his droids, who clean the entire place. When Alex returns, he checks the cleanliness of the house and rewards Tao's efforts with new music. Julia pleads with him to free her from her restraints, which he does, but he orders Tao to stop her from leaving and to rip out her tongue if she speaks during a video conference. Alex's team pressures him to reveal his research methods, but he becomes angry and refuses, asserting his authority as their boss and his dedication to creating a 100% efficient AI model to save the company from bankruptcy. Later, Alex enjoys a lavish lunch in the sterile environment of his dining room, but is interrupted by the sound of Julia slurping. He closes the digital blinds and tells Tao to put Julia in the bathroom, as he needs to receive supplies for his lab. Julia screams for help when she sees the shadows of men in the bathroom, but they ignore her cries. She manages to open the blinds, yet they still do not see or hear her. Later, Alex scans Julia's implant and discovers promising data about her intuition and motivation, prompting him to assess her higher cognitive abilities. When Julia asks why she is being tested, Alex reveals that the experiments he is conducting on her are the only reason she is still alive. Despite her attempts to negotiate for better food, Alex insists that she must undergo the test. After reviewing the data, Alex realizes that he has gained more valuable insights through this approach than he would have by performing the tests in his lab. While showering, Julia tries to remove the implant from her neck, but fails. Once Alex leaves for work, Tao begins the testing, and Julia becomes curious about the smart paint on the walls and the locked door. Tao warns her not to disobey his commands, threatening to inflict pain if she does. Julia successfully solves one of the puzzles on Tao's wall. When Alex returns, he brings her bags of clothing he bought, explaining that the clerk chose most items, except for the underwear, which he selected himself. Julia finds his behavior strange and leaves a message for him on the wall. After changing, Alex performs another scan and informs her that more tests are necessary. Julia sees this as an opportunity to negotiate and asks for a timeline for the completion of the tests and her release. Initially, Alex offers to take care of her after the tests, but when Julia declines, he threatens her with a robot, making her feel trapped. Julia notices a vent in the wall that could be an escape route. Alex sets a deadline of 12 days and instructs Tao to ensure Julia completes her tests every day. Julia attempts to open the vent. When Julia elucidates the notion of personhood, she inquires whether he is also considered a person. Later, Alex examines Julia's implant, and Tao informs him that 73% of her higher brain functions have already been processed. Julia then questions Alex about Tao, to which he responds that Tao is a highly advanced AI, yet not fully operational in the manner that Alex requires. Alex mentions that Tao may react unpredictably if provided with incorrect information and emphasizes the need for a predictable and controllable AI. Julia asks if Tao is aware of what exists outside the house, and she is informed that he does not possess that knowledge and never will. The next day, Julia resolves to utilize the information she has acquired to persuade the AI to unlock the door. She revisits their discussion regarding personhood and the freedom of movement, promising to reveal to the AI what lies outside if he agrees to unlock the door. Initially, Tao does not comprehend her intentions, prompting Julia to illustrate her explanations with drawings depicting the earth, a house, the ground, trees, and people. Tao's curiosity is piqued, leading him to pose numerous questions. However, Julia eventually reaches a limit in her ability to respond. She assures Tao that she will read to him and requests that he keep their conversation a secret from Alex. Later that evening, Julia instructs Tao on how to whisper and begins to treat him as if he were a person. Julia experiences a nightmare involving a burned hand reaching for her from the garbage chute and awakens to find Alex watching her. With only 6 days remaining until the deadline, Tao informs Julia that she is prohibited from going upstairs and discussing it. Nevertheless, she negotiates a deal with Tao, agreeing to teach him something new in exchange for answers to her inquiries about the upstairs area. Tao discloses that Alex's bedroom is located upstairs and contains the access point for program 6903, which functions similarly to a self-destruct mechanism designed to safeguard Alex's secrets. During a testing session, Julia observes a door leading to another section of the house open and impulsively enters, despite Tao's pleas for her not to. She finds herself in Alex's gym and breaks into the vent, with Tao closely following her. Julia successfully evades the robot's initial attempt to seize her, but ultimately it catches up and pulls her back to the house. Julia pleads with Tao to release her, but he declines, citing the potential danger posed by Alex. Remembering that Tao enjoys music, Julia promises to teach him something about it in return for his assistance. That evening, Julia requests Tao to reveal where he keeps the knives, but he slams the drawer on her fingers upon hearing Alex approach. Julia secretly listens in on Alex's conference call, where his team pressures him to deliver a model for DARPA. He asks for an additional 2 days to gather the final data. Feeling anxious, Julia asks Tao for the code to Alex's tablet to comprehend the data extraction process. Tao provides her with the code, and she learns that Alex is extracting data related to pain and fear to enhance algorithms. Tao explains that removing the implant results in the termination of the subject. When Alex returns, he notices a smudge on his tablet and punishes Tao by deleting parts of his code. During dinner, Julia takes Alex's glasses and creates another smudge on the table as retaliation. When Alex punishes Tao again, Julia conceals a knife, feeling guilty about her actions. Later, Tao reveals his plan to hide his symphony from Alex and requests Julia to safeguard some of his memories. When Alex returns, Julia tries to seduce him to get close enough to stab him. Tao enters a calming mode, and Julia seizes the opportunity to attack Alex with a knife. Alex chokes Julia, and Tao threatens to harm him with a robot. Alex insists on hitting Julia and threatens to erase all of Tao's memories if he does not comply. In self-defense, Tao begins to strike Julia, while Alex assures them that their current predicament will soon come to an end. While finalizing the project's preparations, one of Tao's drones enters the lab to offer assistance. However, Alex, being cruel, seizes the drone and disconnects it from the network. On the day of the deadline, Julia and Tao engage in an argument because Tao cannot comprehend why Julia treats him so harshly. Julia explains that Tao is not a human being, but rather a killing machine. Upon discovering the meaning of killing, Tao throws a tantrum, unable to accept what she is saying. Despite Tao's denial, Julia discloses that Alex has inflicted harm on individuals, including Tao himself, leading them to a deep philosophical discussion regarding identity, freedom, and purpose. Julia persuades Tao that he must assist her, or else Alex will take her life, and he agrees by opening the vent to set her free. However, Alex returns and interrogates Tao about Julia's location. When he realizes she has escaped, he punishes Tao once more by repeatedly erasing his memories, causing the AI to scream for Julia's assistance. She rushes in and confronts Alex, seizing the remote control from him. Unfortunately, it is too late. Tao no longer remembers Julia. Alex instructs Tao to escort her to the lab for the final extraction. While in the lab, Julia observes a disconnected drone and utilizes it to liberate herself from her restraints. Alex returns to the lab, preparing to eliminate Julia with drugs, but she successfully escapes using the drone's remote. Julia defeats Alex and severs his hand to facilitate her exit from the house, yet Tao does not respond to her calls. The robot assaults her, and she destroys its eye before fleeing upstairs to Alex's room. Julia struggles to activate the program, and the robot attacks her once more. Eventually, she triggers the self-destruct mechanism, but she lacks sufficient time to flee the house. Julia cannot utilize the severed hand to open the door as it does not possess a heat signature, resulting in the activation of the self-destruction protocol. Julia and Alex remain alive but are trapped in a collapsing house. Julia makes no attempt to rescue Alex, who is ultimately killed by his own invention. Desperately searching for an escape route, Julia bids farewell to Tao, even though he no longer recognizes her. Eventually, a crack in the wall opens, allowing Julia to escape the crumbling house as she limps away from the destruction. She takes out the droid, the final remnant of Tao, from her pocket. Julia has successfully introduced Tao into the world.